everyone, welcome to StudyIQ English. Well, we know and we must remember that India has decided, as a part of its nationally determined contribution, to reduce the carbon footprint, carbon production, by 45% of GDP by 2030 as a part of our commitment to the legally binding Paris Agreement of 2015. We also plan to go carbon neutral by 2070. But right now, in order to move towards renewable energy, India definitely needs more nuclear energy, because having solar energy, having hydro energy and wind energy are not sufficient. Our total energy mix must have a more strong contribution coming from nuclear energy domain. That's also the reason why recently India tried to introduce privatization, liberalization in the nuclear energy sector by passing the Shanti Bill. Because under Shanti Bill, we have now reduced the liability of nuclear suppliers, as well as we are inviting private companies and foreign companies to contribute in total nuclear energy production. After all, we need to achieve the goal of 100 gigawatt of nuclear energy by 2047, and that's not an easy task. Therefore, India needs more uranium. Now for that, we are import dependent, because I have told you earlier in many other videos that India has thorium. Now today India is experimenting with another technology that's known as thorium salt water reactor. Why? Because indigenously we have enough amount of thorium that's available in the monazite sands of coastal areas like Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh. Yes, but what about uranium? For uranium, we are mainly dependent on nations like Kazakhstan, Russia, and today comes in the picture Canada. Soon, India and Canada are going to sign a CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, with a key focus on nuclear fuel supply. Now, why is nuclear fuel supply such a crucial element of this CEPA? Because we know that India needs uranium. We have to make that change towards nuclear energy. So therefore, right now, under this deal with Canada, India has signed a 2.6 billion Canadian currency worth deal in order to get nuclear energy, in order to get uranium from a company called Cameco from Canada, so that for our nuclear power plants we have enough uranium, enough raw material available, and the deal is going to supply us with 10,000 tons of uranium starting from 2027 up to 2035, because now we need more energy. Our energy demands are growing every day. So why does India need so much uranium? As I just said, we have thorium, but then for uranium India has been import dependent, because the ore that we have in India, we do have some uranium reserves, but the ore of uranium here is low quality. It's very low grade. That means it is expensive to mine it, and even if we mine it by spending too much money, we do not get enough uranium extracted from that. Its content of uranium is very small, very tiny. So therefore, we are dependent from outside. That's why we take uranium from nations like mainly Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Russia. Today, we are only expanding the ties with Canada. All in all, India takes about 75% of its uranium, its civilian nuclear fuel requirement, only through import. So that's the sheer importance of import dependent nature of uranium. And that's why this deal with Canada will only make us more secure in this regard. Now, let's say, what will this deal do for us? Now, this deal comes under India-Canada Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement, and for India, we need uranium for 24 nuclear reactors which produce about 9 gigawatts of electricity. Today, if you see our total energy mix, then nuclear has a very small contribution. It's barely about 3.1%. That's the contribution of nuclear sector to our total energy supply. If you translate it in terms of gigawatt, it comes out to be about 8.78 gigawatt, which is very low. But then we have a bigger target. We need to push this 8.78 to 22.38 gigawatts by 2032. Eventually, by the time 2047 comes and we become Viksit Bharat, we need to push this capacity to 100 gigawatt. Plus, this fuel is also important for nuclear submarines like INS Arihant, and that's the reason why India and Canada are signing this ambitious deal right now. Why India is securing more uranium suddenly with this dramatic deal with Canada, as we are burying the past differences and the new leadership in Canada wants to have more trade with India. Now let's understand, even Canada is a country which shares a long, in fact world's largest national border. Canada is sharing with US, but at the same time, most of the oil pipelines of Canada are spread across US-Canada border. That's the reason why Canada is totally dependent on US, although Canada has tremendous capacity for crude oil. But most of the crude oil has to go to US because US doesn't allow Canada to diversify as much. Today, Canada wants to diversify and Canada sees India as a great and stable trade partner. Now, with regards to nuclear power, this deal will help us in pushing our nuclear generation to 100 gigawatt by 2047. Fuel security for our reactors. Under Shanti Bill, we are also proposing 5 new small modular reactors that shall be built very soon. Then maintain strategic flexibility, because if domestic uranium is not sufficient, if it is low quality, we can reserve it for defense, and we can also import a large amount of this fuel so that we can now channelize it into a quicker output when it comes to nuclear energy. So in order to diversify our import also, this deal is crucial. Now remember, you can't depend on one country all the time. Why? Because if you look at Russia, whenever India was dependent too much on the Russian Ural oil, US always had a problem with that. Today, after the war in Iran has broken out and the Strait of Hormuz is shut, now India has to once again go back and depend on the same Russian Ural oil. And even US in the morning today has allowed India to import Russian oil for about 30 days. That's about a month consecutively. So you see, dependence on one nation is not a good idea. Strategic autonomy is a better idea. So now, rather than only taking uranium from Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, it is good if India and Canada are also trying to sign this deal. Another outlet of import for India perhaps. Okay. So a quick practice question here. With reference to uranium use and nuclear energy in India, look at these statements. 1. India imports significant portion of uranium for civilian nuclear reactors due to low-grade nature of our own domestic uranium ore. Second, uranium imports under international civil nuclear agreements can be directly used for nuclear weapon production. And 3, India-Canada Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement allows uranium supply to India for civilian nuclear purpose under safeguards. Which of these statements are correct? And as you answer the question, also do remember that earlier, under the Nuclear Supplier Group Protocol, India was not allowed to buy uranium from other countries because India has not signed the NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, going back to 1960s. But in 2008, India and US signed a very crucial civil nuclear agreement, and now India has been given a waiver here. India can purchase, and that's why this deal is coming. Talking about the NSG, remember a group formed in 1990, a group that was formed in 1974, immediately after India conducted its nuclear experiment. It is a group of nations which control the supply of nuclear technology and nuclear materials so that they can prevent nuclear proliferation from taking place. So these are very important facts for UPSC. And as I end, if you want the answer to this question, more important such pieces of information, do take this QR code, scan it and join our Telegram community. A quick reminder, today is 7th of March and we are beginning 2 batches today. One for 27 UPSC, one for 2028 UPSC exam. Both will cover comprehensively from the scratch complete GS, answer writing, essay writing, news, current events, books, materials, everything shall be provided. Prices are super humble. For 2027, it starts at 13,999. If you use my code SPLIVE, more discount, but batch starts today. Similarly, for 2028, for more than 1 year of coaching, guidance, hands-holding, mentorship, price is 29,999 and using code SPLIVE, more discount. So do not forget the code, use it to enroll, but do it now because batch is beginning. Yesterday when the result came, a moment of such celebration. Another moment it was, a moment of realization that the sooner you begin, the better it is. So sign up today. Remember, batch starts now, right here today, and you must use code SPLIVE for that. Thank you so much.